Hello everyone. So as in the previous video, we discussed the sympathetic nervous system, which is more active during the fight, flight. That means it prepares you for the emergency situations. This video is on the parasympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic nervous system plays a role when you are in a relaxed state. That means it helps to conserve the body energy, to restores it. So what will be the various physiological responses during the parasympathetic nervous system? The blood pressure, the heart rate, they will be on the lower side. What else? The blood supply to the viscera is increased. That means there will be peristalsis. And what else? The peristalsis will be increased, the sphincters will be relaxed, allowing the micturition and defecation. The activity or the secretory activity of the glands will be increased. So there will be salivation in the mouth, and also the other secretions of the other glands are also increased. So now, another name for parasympathetic nervous system. As a sympathetic, we called it as thoracolumbar because it was from T1 to L2. The parasympathetic is called the craniosacral outflow. The craniosacral outflow means the parasympathetic flow, it goes along the cranial nerves 3rd, 7th, 9th and 10th. What are these nerves? 3rd is the oculomotor nerve, the 7th is the facial nerve, the 9th is the glossopharyngeal, and the 10th one is the vagus nerve. Sacral component is along these S2, 3 and S4 spinal nerves. So this is how the parasympathetic outflow occurs via the 4 cranial nerves and the 3 spinal nerves. Now we'll go into bit details. How does it happen? So starting from the cranial component, like the sympathetic one, there will be the preganglionic fibers and there will be the postganglionic fibers. That means the relay will occur in a ganglion, right? But now the position of that ganglion is different. The preganglionic fibers, they all will arise from the nuclei of the cranial nerves in the brain stem. Brainstem, as you all know, medulla, midbrain, pons and medulla. So the nuclei for the preganglionic nerves are present in the brain stem of the cranial nerves. So I told you what are the cranial nerves. The 3rd, that is the oculomotor nerve. Then we have the 7th, that is the facial nerve. The 9th, the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the 10th, that is the vagus nerve, right? Now let's talk about the parasympathetic nuclei. The parasympathetic nuclei are the ones from which the preganglionic fibers will arise. Now what are those parasympathetic nuclei? For the 3rd nerve, it is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So the preganglionic fibers will arise from a parasympathetic nucleus that is present in the brainstem, go along the cranial nerve, go to the periphery, relay in a peripheral parasympathetic ganglion, and then go to the target organ. So it starts from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, the preganglionic fibers which are myelinated, they will go along the 3rd nerve, that is the oculomotor nerve, relay in a ciliary ganglion, that is the peripheral parasympathetic ganglion, and then the postganglionic fibers will arise and supply the ciliaris and the pupillary muscles and help in accommodation and cause the pupillary constriction. So what you have to remember is there is a parasympathetic nucleus that is present in the brainstem. The preganglionic fibers arise from them, go along the cranial nerve, relay in a ganglion that is present in the periphery. So this is a peripheral parasympathetic ganglion. Now the postganglionic fibers will arise and supply the ciliaris and the pupillary muscles, helping in accommodation and pupillary constriction. Now for the 7th nerve, again there are nucleus in the brainstem, the superior salivatory nucleus. The fibers will arise from the superior salivatory nucleus, go along the facial nerve, then relay in submandibular ganglion, and then they are relaying, and then they will supply the submandibular gland. So this is how the secretions of the glands occur. Submandibular and the sublingual gland. Then there is another nucleus, that is the lacrymatory nucleus. Again, the fibers will arise from the lacrymatory nucleus, go along the seventh nerve, along the seventh cranial nerve, relay in a ganglion, that is the pterygopalatine ganglion, and the postganglionic will supply the lacrimal gland, and this is how the tears are produced, right? Then we have the ninth nerve, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve. So again, there is an inferior salivatory nucleus. The fibers will arise from them, go along the ninth nerve, relay in otic ganglion, and then supply the parotid gland. Then there is dorsal nucleus of vagus nerve. The fibers will go along the vagus nerve, relay in. Now there are some plexuses in which they will relay that are related to the GIT. There is a myenteric plexus. So the fibers will relay in myenteric plexus and mesenteric plexus and supply the GIT, right? Now we come to the sacral component of it. As I told you, parasympathetic is called craniosacral. So one we have done, that is along the cranial nerves. Another is the sacral component. Sacral component is along S2, 3 and S4 spinal nerves. So this is again the transverse section of the spinal cord. Ventral grey horn, dorsal grey horn. The dorsal root, that is the sensory, dorsal root ganglion. The ventral root, both of them join to form the spinal nerve. Then the dorsal ramus and the ventral ramus. Now, the nuclei from which the preganglionic fibers arise, they are present in the segments S2, S3 and S4. But like the sympathetic one, we are not going to make the lateral grey column here. If you have seen my previous video, you must be knowing that for the sympathetic, the nuclei are present in the lateral grey horn here. But in these segments, we won't make them because they are not enough to form the grey horn here. Okay, so now they will arise from the nuclei in the S2, S3, S4, then follow the ventral root, the spinal nerve and the ventral ramus. These are the preganglionic fibers which are myelinated, and then go along the ventral ramus, finally leave it and relay in. So these preganglionic fibers are called the pelvic splanchnic nerves. Pelvic splanchnic nerves. The preganglionic ones are called the pelvic splanchnic nerves, and they relay in hypogastric plexus. So there is a hypogastric plexus, and then they supply the pelvic viscera. So the preganglionic ones rise from S2, S3, S4, follow the ventral ramus known as the pelvic splanchnic nerves, relay in the hypogastric plexus. The postganglionic arise from here and supply the pelvic viscera. So this is all about the parasympathetic nervous system. In my next video, I'll be posting the differences between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. They would be very clear if you have gone through these videos. You won't need to cram them. And if you like this video, kindly subscribe my channel, press the like icon. Thank you so much.